All right, Real, welcome to the podcast. So this podcast is about interviewing badasses, people who are creating what they want and not settling for people giving them anything. So that's why you're here, right? So I consider you a badass in my life, and I've seen you create some amazing stuff. I had your husband on the podcast a while back, and it was magical. So I know you're gonna, top that. So thank you for coming to the podcast. Thank you for coming to Born to Create. And I just want us to bless the people. So the audience is people who are entrepreneurs who want to start a business, or they have one they want to scale. So the goal of the podcast is get them to their first 10K per month, right? And I know you guys have surpassed that, but I know there's some nuggets you can give us. You can give them to just help them get there. So again, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. So first thing I want to talk about is you are a best-selling author.
Three-time best-selling
author, which congratulations.
Thank you.
So talk to me about that process, that journey to getting, how did you get into writing, and then how did you actually become a 3-time best-selling author?
I started writing when I was young. I knew I wanted to write books. I would always tell my kids stories. They love my stories. And I thought one day I'd be a writer.
Yeah.
However, corporate America sucked the life out of me. And I went and worked long hours, was tired, could not follow that dream, that passion. And then I was able to come home. And once I did, everybody's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know. And my family's like, you should write your stories. Mm-hmm. So the stories have changed over the years, but I knew I still wanted to write. Yeah. So I just wrote, and now I have 3 books and another one about to drop within the next couple months. And another novel, and it was exciting. Like, being able to create something was, for me, it was seeing something come to fruition that I had dreamt about as a child, being able to do. So I really enjoy it. But in saying that, how I became a bestseller is marketing. Yes. And knowing that your audience is entrepreneurs, knowing how to market properly. And because of that, I've been able to help, my husband and I have been able to help over a couple dozen people also become best-selling authors.
Right. And that's amazing to me because, business, I think in marketing, to be successful, you have to be a good storyteller, right? And being a writer, talk to me about how important is storytelling, not only in your business, but in marketing, about telling an effective story to actually bring the customer in to actually buy from you. How important is that?
It's incredibly important. It's actually the most important thing. Yeah. It's in my opinion. Yeah. The reason being, if you can tell a story and grab somebody's attention, then you've already sold them. Yeah. If you can find that connection with somebody, you've sold them.
Yeah. Right.
And so with marketing, that's all it is learning your audience. And once you know your audience, then you can sell them.
Right. So being a best-selling author so I want to write a book, right? That's one of my biggest goals. And so how do you actually get started? I mean, in writing the book, like what's the process that someone like me should go to actually get a book going?
Just write.
Just write.
Just write. But so I'm a fiction writer.
Okay.
I am writing a nonfiction right now.
Okay.
I'm in the process of going through a metamorphosis.
Okay.
And so during that metamorphosis that I'm doing, I'm writing about it. I'm doing a bikini contest in April.
Right.
And so the book will be called The Naked Truth.
Okay.
And it's about the changes that happen along the way. And you really learn yourself.
Right.
And so writing nonfiction compared to fiction is completely different to me so far. Fiction writing, it's just storytelling, like make-believe. Everybody has it in them to tell a story because everybody lies. Yeah. So that's basically what you're telling.
So it's more emotion when you write nonfiction.
And nonfiction is really peeling back the onion. And but then I also have a separate life called Finding the Good in Your Life, where it's about the change that happens, this is where I get emotional. So that's where, think about Tony Robbins or things like that, like the entrepreneur or the everyday person who wants to change. So most entrepreneurs, they listen to like an Ed Milet or Tony Robbins or Lisa Bilyeu and Tom Bilyeu, because they want to grow. And so that's different writing. Okay. Because when you're writing that, I've learned that anytime that you're going to teach something, you have to study it. And when you study it, you change. Yeah. And so in order to write a nonfiction, you have to be willing to change yourself and grow. Who was it? Russell, what's his name?
Brunson?
Yes, that's his name. Yeah. Russell Brunson. You know, I know him.
That guy. That guy. Who you work very closely with.
He said on one of his podcasts that he felt like he needed to be perfect before he did anything else. Yeah. But the thing was, he just had to read a chapter ahead. Yeah. So that he could help the people behind him. And that's what it is for me. Like right now, writing The Naked Truth, it's literally anytime anybody asks me something, I'm just a chapter ahead. I haven't done it yet. I haven't completed it yet. Yeah. However, I'm a chapter ahead. Yeah. So that's the only way I'm able to help anybody is because I've already lived that chapter. Yeah. Yeah. And that's,
I like that. Yeah.
The nonfiction part is always harder for me. So when I do find the good in your life and I'm writing just a blog or whatever, it's because of something I've lived through. And so I'm just a chapter ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. So is it harder because you're being more vulnerable and being more naked?
Yes.
Yeah. So
completely.
It would seem like that would be, you said you got to change, right? Yeah. So it would seem like you got to change less because you know who you are, you know yourself, but you're saying, no, you got to change more.
No, you're constantly growing. And if you're not growing, I think that's the challenge. Yeah. So many people don't want to grow. I won't say so many. People sometimes don't want to grow, and or they feel like they've arrived. And that's when we hit a wall. Like we're not willing to let go of the things that we've known. Yeah. When we talk about Uncle so-and-so and they're like, well, that's just how he's always been. Yep. Well, but we don't have to accept that. Yeah. Well, our family is in poverty. Well, that's just how it's always been. But I don't want to be that way. Yeah. I'm deciding that I'm going to move ahead. Yeah. So because I'm going to move ahead, I have to grow. Right. I have to make that change. Right. And in order to get to the next level, it's going to hurt sometimes because we have to leave behind some people. Yeah. We have to change what we've always done. What's that saying? You get what you've always done. What is it like? And something insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting change. Yep. Yeah. And like, I'm going to make it out of here. Like, even though my family never did, but yet you're working in the same place that mom did. You're doing the same thing that mom did. Yeah. So you're now in the same place. Yeah.
If you're in a space where you want to start a business or if you have one you want to scale, we got you covered. So thanks for watching the podcast. I know you're enjoying it, but I want to stop real quick and talk to you about the Creators Club. Now, that first 10K can be super elusive, but our goal is to help you get there even faster. Talk about what it takes to get your business to that first $10,000 per month. The beauty about it is the Creators Club is only $1 for the first 7 days. The link's below. Click it. create.thecreateclub.com. It's where you go. We'll see you inside. I think people get to a point where they're in fear, and that fear paralyzes them to be comfortable with where they're at, right? And a lot of times they recognize it, but then they don't, right? And I think that when you're in a position where you can change it and do something different, and you know you can, and you don't do it, I think it's really a big disservice to you and to generations, right? Yeah. Because you know where you came from, you know that you don't want that for your life, but you stay there. And we talk a lot about fear on a podcast, and Fear is something that's paralyzing. Fear is something that can put you in the grave. Fear is something that can keep the generational curse, continuing, right?
Yeah.
But you made a choice. You made a choice to push past the fear. Because I know everybody has fears in their life, but some people would choose to push past them or let it rule their life. But you said that you chose, right? How did you get to the point where you said, I'm choosing this for my life versus just sitting there and letting that fear to take over?
So funny enough, I constantly, it's a constant battle.
Right.
Like today, I know there's something I have to do. Not this. This was fun and exciting for me. But I procrastinate.
Right.
But I am a person who give me a deadline and I'm going to hit that deadline.
Right.
So that's one of the things for me. Like writing children's books, easy. Writing my novel, hard. Like I literally, no exaggeration, fear, procrastination will leave me standing still to depression, anxiety, and just pull the covers up over my head for a couple days until I say, I can't do this anymore. I know I have a deadline, and then I'll work my butt off. For me, that deadlines work.
Right.
So.
But you have those days where you're in bed, you pulling covers over your head. Because...
Yeah, completely. Completely. This morning, I knew I needed to. So find the good in your life is coming back alive.
Right.
And I need to make a video, just, hey, but I'm terrified. What if my audience doesn't want me back anymore? So I walked around the building. Hello, how are you?
Yeah.
Chitty chatty with everybody because I did not want to face that one thing. And then I'm like, oh, I have 15 minutes. Got to go upstairs and do the podcast.
Right.
So the fear of rejection or the fear of not being good enough will make me not want to do something.
But you're a 3-time best-selling author. So,
it doesn't get
so
easier.
that fear should be gone, right?
Yeah, no.
No.
I also do public speaking.
Yeah.
And just what if I'm not received the same way as I was the first time?
Yeah.
What if this time they don't like my book?
Right.
What if this time, because prior to 2020, prior to the pandemic, my first 2 books came out. I had a story time with Gigi on YouTube, kids. I was in schools. Like I did a little tour around the United States, everything. Now it's like I have a new children's book coming out. They don't know me anymore. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Even though I get asked all the time, when's your next Luna and Soul book coming out? Because it was easier for me to write a novel than put out a new Luna and Soul book because I don't know if I'll be perceived the same way. Those kids have grown up.
Yeah.
This is for 1st through 3rd graders. Those kids are now in like 5th and 6th grade. Like, what if they don't like it like they did the first time? So it was easier for me to write a novel and branch out to something new than it was to write another kid's book.
So what if they don't like it? What if you get on stage and get booed at your competition? Like what if? Like, let's talk about that. What if? So that all happens and everything just flops. Everything goes, falls down and you fail. So that happens, then what?
I go home, I eat a cake, I cry. So every year I set a new goal for myself. And last year it was to write the novel, become a bestseller. I did. This year, bikini contest. I'm doing it. I don't want to sound cocky when I say this. However,
Please.
I haven't failed yet.
All right.
I fail daily.
Yes.
But I don't fail the finish.
Right.
I fall on my ass daily.
Yeah.
Every day. I have written several chapters and I'm like, this sucks.
Yeah.
And I throw it away and I have to start over. That's a fail.
Right.
But I'm not failing in the same way. I continue to grow.
Right.
But when it comes to hitting the deadline, coming to hit the thing, I win every single time because I failed along the way to hit the win.
So what I'm hearing is that despite how you're received, despite how your book is received, because you finished the goal, you got the finish line. For you, it's a success.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I'm 55, I'm 51 now.
Okay.
About to turn 52. I want to run a marathon. So that's my goal for 55.
A full marathon.
A full marathon.
26 miles.
Yes.
Okay.
So in April, I'll start training. And I have a friend, Ursel, and I told him that I wanted to do this. And I asked him to do it with me. I'm like, we have 3 years to do this. So he's been running 5Ks. He's already ahead of me.
Yeah.
I'm like, can you teach me how to do it? Yeah. He's like, no, I don't want you to have my bad habits, but we're going to get a trainer. So I'm like, I'm going to run the 5Ks with you.
Yeah.
And then we're going to do 10Ks.
Yeah.
And then we're going to do a half marathon.
Yeah.
And then we'll do a full marathon. But we're breaking it up so that by the time the 3 years come, we'll be ready.
Yeah.
We'll be running it. We won't be walking it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to finish it. But it's training along the way. Right. That was the same way with writing my books. Same way with doing this bikini contest. Yeah. Like, I have failed. There are days I don't eat clean. Yeah. There are days I don't work out. Yeah. But I know I'm going to stand on that stage on April 8th and I'm going to look good because I gave it everything I had.
You already see it, yeah.
And I'm like, this is the goal.
Yeah.
When it comes to hitting my goal, I don't miss.
Yeah.
I miss days.
Yeah.
I fall down daily. Yeah. There are days I don't want to get up and work out. Yeah. There are days I don't want to write.
Yep.
And there are days I'll even skip. But I'll make up for it.
Yeah.
But I won't miss that goal.
Yeah.
Like, I give myself a day.
Yeah.
So my grandma, she passed away several years ago, but there's things that she would say to me. And one of the things, like, if I was sad, she was like, how long is it going to take? How long do you need? And I would be like, well, it's a bad breakup. He broke my heart. Right. She's like, all right, what do you need?
Yeah.
Let's cry it out. Do you need a day? Do you need an hour? What do you need? So I give myself that even now in life. Like, what do you need? All right, it was a bad day. You had a bad day.
Yeah.
Accept that, live in that, feel that, feel it all. But then tomorrow you get up and you do it again.
That's right.
Or in an hour, whatever. Like, whatever. Yeah. Depends on how bad it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to touch on that, but I want to go back a little bit.
Go ahead.
So things that we accomplish in life that we take on can be super intimidating, right? Mm-hmm. I did my first 5K with Ursel on Thanksgiving, right? And leading up to that point, I'm like, wow, 5K, 3 miles. You know, I have not run 3 miles straight in like probably never. I was a sprinter, but getting into that is super intimidating. Even though I go to the gym every single day, it's just I think our mind fucks with us sometimes, all the time, right? And it's nothing like pushing past that, accomplishing that goal, because it's like if you can accomplish these little things, you can accomplish anything that you want. And leading up to that, you know, that marathon, it's like it's going to be scary, right? Because now Ursel's asking me to go on the next 5K, and the ability to conquer what fears you is something that most people don't get to experience because they let the fear keep them where they are. And then also with your grandmother is people need to be allowed to have their bad moments, right? One thing that sticks out of my head that Jonathan said one time is that, you know, I've learned to not have bad days, but have bad moments, right? Because we can choose what we allow to affect us. And my son, he's 10. He plays football. He's super competitive, right? He loves to win. And all last year he won every single game. But this year's team, they were horrible. They lost every single game. So he had to learn how to not only win but also lose, right? Because I believe that part of being a champion is losing and know how to lose. So after every game, he would come and he would be upset and he would cry because he didn't do well. They lost. But I told him, I'm like, son, it's okay to have emotion. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel bad. But what's not okay is to sit in that for hours and days and weeks and months. So I'm like, hey, you know, you have 5-10 minutes. cry it out. If you got to curse, you got to scream, you got to punch something, do it.
Yeah.
But after that's over, it's over. We move forward, forward progress only. And a lot of people, even myself at times, used to get stuck in that bad moment, thinking that bad moment defines who we are, defines our space, defines what we can and can't do in the future. But it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Right. It's up to us to learn from that moment and to figure out what's the lesson in that moment, and then figure out what's the new definition that we're going to walk by, because shit happens.
Yes.
Right. It happens. So I love what your grandma said, and that's something that I totally agree with, and I use every day of my life.
So heading on that, not letting things define you.
Yeah.
So I'm a high school dropout.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And
Okay.
dyslexic. And my best friend growing up, I would give her a note. We, pass notes in the hall, whatever.
Yeah.
She would give me back my notes like a teacher,
That's
like
correct.
highlighted red, and like,
Yeah.
this is how you spell this. This is the there you should use.
Yeah.
This is how so spelling, writing, hard.
Yeah.
But I had it in me to be a writer.
Yeah.
So the fact that I'm a writer, best-selling author, that didn't define me. I had people, teachers who were like, you won't make it.
Yeah.
My mom's a alcoholic, drug user, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. It's not about her. It's about me. But I went to therapy, counselors, and they're like, how are you not a prostitute, an alcoholic, or a drug user?
Wow.
With everything
Wow.
you've been through. I was like, because I saw that, and that's not who I wanted to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
I decided who I wanted to be.
Yeah.
I wrote my own story. Yeah. Dyslexic high school dropout,
Right.
best-selling author.
Right.
You don't define my story. Yeah, I refuse.
Yeah.
I worked my butt off. I did door-to-door sales for LA Times, learned how to do sales, learned how to run an office, worked my way up, answering phones, to being vice president of a security company.
Wow.
Taught people how to do sales.
Right.
From minimum wage to $120,000 a year.
Wow.
I didn't let those things define who I was.
Yeah.
I said, I can do better.
Yeah. And you did.
And I did.
You did.
And then some.
Yeah. That reminds me of myself a lot. This podcast is something that I never thought I would do. Never thought I would accomplish. Growing up as a kid, I was very, very quiet. I didn't speak much. I was just to myself. And even going through elementary school, going through high school, I didn't talk because I had a very, very bad stutter, right? And I stutter and I talk fast. I have both, right? Yeah. And I would be called a mute. People would make fun of how I talked, and that didn't define me either, right? Because I knew that I had a message, I had something I wanted to say, and this podcast, defied all of that, right? Because now I'm speaking, now I'm out there giving what I have to the world, and it works if you. Les Brown always says that someone's opinion of you is none of your business, right? And it's not. People have their opinion; they're going to always have it. Whether you're the best writer on the planet, the worst, the best speaker, the worst, there's always going to be someone who has a problem with the way you present yourself.
Oh, all the time.
And that's okay, right? That's okay. But it's up to you to really determine how fast, how slow you're going to go, and how much it's going to affect you. It's like, you post something on social media and you get 50 amazing comments, but that one bad one, you get stuck on that.
Oh yeah.
Right. You get stuck on that. But let's talk about intention, right? And because I know you visualize a lot.
Yeah.
Right. And you see yourself standing on that stage in April, right? Yep. And receiving that award.
Yes.
How do you set your intention for your day, for your month, for your life, how do you set your intention?
Okay, so if you go into my office right now, on my calendar is literally like words of affirmation and things like that, like bodybuilding stuff and whatever, pictures so I literally visualize those things and that I need to keep in front of me. My whys are always in front of me, which is my family. And then my goals, dreams, whatever. So on a daily, it's like I said, I try to get up and go to the gym, but that's important to me. Actually, meditation and visualization is something that I've been doing for the past couple years. One of the things, my grandmother passed away from Alzheimer's. Because of that, I studied the brain. I have been studying it. I refuse. I'm like, I don't ever want to get that. It scared me. For me, it felt like I lost her twice.
Really? Awesome.
Because she forgot me.
Oh, wow.
And then the day she passed. So it felt like I lost her twice because the day that she no longer remembered me. And we knew it was bad because every single day she did laundry, every single day. And she walked out of her bedroom and she said, I want to wash clothes. We're like, okay. She goes, I don't know where the wash machine is. And we're like, oh. And then slowly she just forgot everybody. And she was no longer grandma that we knew. So because of that, I studied the brain. I have been studying it, how it works, why it works, like things that we can do to change it. So if you look me up, mariahagberg.com, brings you to my website and it says, I love an overcomer. And one of the things that I can do is help you to change your DNA. And I'm not talking about who your mama daddy is. It's your brain.
Right.
Because you can change this. Because the voices that have been speaking to you for all these years, telling you can't do it. Our family can't do that. You'll never amount to anything. It can change. You were talking about Les Brown. Man, I quote him. I love him. I soak it all in. However, he's not the only one. Like there's others I listen to over and over and over again, changing my brain, changing the pattern, changing. Yes. And I'm like, I don't have to be that Maria. I had a dream a couple of nights ago, and in this dream, I was called by nicknames that I had growing up. Peaches was my nickname in high school. And Peaches had an amazing life. Peaches had the best high school boyfriend, the best high school experience, everything. Like Peaches had a good life. Maria did not. My best friends call me Ree. Ree had a great life. I had the best friends. I had the best life. Maria did not. Tinker. That's what my stepdad and my grandma called me. Great life. Maria did not.
Why not? Why didn't Maria have a good life?
So, Maria, what my mom and my dad called me, they never gave me nicknames. My dad, abusive alcoholic. Mom, abusive drug addict. My mom would sell me for drugs and allow things to happen to me. My ex-husband didn't like nicknames, only called me Maria. Anytime Maria was used, it was in a way that was by people that were supposed to be in my circle, you know, that close-knit family. And it was never a positive thing. Like if my husband now, my best friend, the love of my life, if he calls me Maria, I'm like, what did I do?
Really?
Like I'm Babe.
Wow. Okay.
I'm Babe.
Okay.
However, in saying that, in this dream, it was about Maria regaining her name. So Maria changing her DNA, Maria healing. And so taking my name and making it mean what healing it. So that's what the dream was about. So anyhow, changing the DNA, because I'm like, all those life experiences, they happened to Peaches, but they also happened to Maria. But it didn't feel like it was. I felt like two separate people. The person I was with my friends and everything was not the same person who got to go home at night. It was two different separate people. So healing that person, and I'm like, but that was still you. You still had those experiences.
Yeah.
Maria still had those experiences. It just didn't feel that way. Yeah. So anyhow, changing that perspective, changing that mental visualization of you weren't two separate people having two separate things. You were one person. And so how do I do that? Listening to things that put positive in my life.
Right. If you're in a space where you want to start a business, or if you have one you want to scale, we got you covered. So thanks for watching the podcast. I know you're enjoying it, but I want to stop real quick and talk to you about the Creators Club. Now, that first 10K can be super elusive, but our goal is to help you get there even faster. Talk about what it takes to get your business to that first $10,000 per month. The beauty about it is the Creators Club is only $1 for the first 7 days. The link's below. Click it. create.thecreateclub.com. It's where you go. We'll see you inside.
Speaking positive into my life. Like, I don't usually speak negative.
Yeah.
If someone catches me speaking negative, they're like, are you okay?
Yeah.
I'm not all sunshines and rainbows and unicorns like people think I am all the time. However, 95% of the time I am. I have a bad day, a bad moment, but it's not a bad life.
Right.
It's not going to define me. It's not going to define everything. So, yeah, I set the intention of this is what I want to do. I give myself deadlines. For me, that works.
Yeah.
With everything. Like, you have to work out 5 times this week. Yeah. You don't want to go today? That's fine. Just know that the week's going.
Yeah.
You have to at least work out 5, so you pick the 5.
Right.
And so, yeah, visualize. I do that a lot because I choose to change the DNA, change the programming, change the voices. And every now and again, like, you know, you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, you remember something you said in 7th grade in English class as you were walking out the door. Yeah. No one else has thought about that, but you're going to think about that.
Right.
And you're like, okay, let me think 3 positive things to get rid of that negative thing.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. I mean, programming is huge.
Yes.
Right. And a lot of times our programming is more powerful than our belief. So we don't accomplish anything. You know, we got to get to a point where our beliefs are more powerful than our programming.
Yes.
Because we're programmed at a very young age, right? You know, from when we're kids, we're programmed. And I think changing the brain, changing the chemistry, changing the DNA is where everything changes. Is where your whole life shifts to what you want versus what you don't want. Because a lot of people, they're addicted to a life that they don't even like. Right?
Oh yeah,
it's an addiction, but they got to stay in it.
Mm-hmm.
So, MaryHagberg.com, overcomer. What is an overcomer?
It's different things.
Yeah,
so
for you,
for an overcomer is, so I'm also a breast cancer survivor. I overcame.
Yes.
I was in an abusive marriage, a bad marriage. I overcame. I, high school graduate, never going to amount to anything. 3-time bestseller. Right. I overcame.
Right.
An overcomer could just be as easy as learning to tie your shoe at 3. Yeah, you overcame that. Like every day we're overcoming something. Yeah. Literally every day. I believe we, as a human, we have a tendency to want to stay in our comfort zones. Yeah. So overcoming that. Yeah. I love an overcomer. Everybody has something that they overcame. Everybody has a story. Right. Everybody deserves to be heard. My kids, God bless them, I used to yell a lot. And the reason was I thought it was the only way I could be heard is if I raised my voice. Mm. And I learned my grandma, when grandma got soft, that's when you listened.
That's what,
So I stopped yelling.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be known as that person who has to yell to be heard. I just want to be heard. So, because I believe everybody has a story, when someone's yelling, I'm like, hey, let's just talk. Yeah. What is it that you need to overcome so that you can just talk? I don't yell anymore.
Wow. Yeah.
I just want to hear. I just want to hear what you have to say. Like, let's just talk.
I hear. And that's huge. I mean, most people they just want to be heard.
Yeah.
Right. And then the yelling and all that creates a whole other part of fear, right? But that's awesome you did that. If it's okay, I'd like to touch on the breast cancer.
Yeah.
So I've heard the story, but I knew you were a survivor, right? Yeah. And I'm sure that's a massive part of your life, massive part of your story, and it brought you to who you are today, right? So tell me a little bit about that experience, because it's happening right now to someone else, right? Yeah. And there is fear that they may not make it, out of the situation. Did you have that fear? And I'm sure you did. Well, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But talk to me about the whole experience.
So found the lump. Actually, my ex-husband did, and I having to go through it. I almost had to go through it alone, and not in a positive way. My ex-husband didn't come with me to the doctors when I had to have the exam. He didn't come with me when I had to have the surgery. I did that alone. I had to walk it alone, not because I wanted to. And that was the worst part.
Yeah.
That's part of the bad marriage.
Yeah.
And so having to go through treatments, having to go through everything alone, it was scary. And because of that, though, it's one of the reasons I will walk with anybody. If asked, I've gone with people and sat with them as they've had their tests done, as they waited for the results, as they've done anything, because I didn't have anybody to walk with me. And it was hard because I had small kids at home. I was homeschooling. God bless those who do that. Like I only homeschooled for 1 year. It was the worst year for me to do it. I was 30 also.
Oh, wow.
I had just turned 30. Excuse me. And I had just turned 30 when I found out. Literally on my 30th birthday. Every year on my birthday, I try to do something positive and go get a physical.
Okay.
And that's what happened on my 30th. And so I'm homeschooling. And because of that, the people that I homeschooled with even were like, oh, you need your time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, this is when I need y'all the most.
Right.
And they were like, no. I think so many times we feel like we need to give people their space when they're going through something, but actually people need you, but they just don't know how to ask.
Right.
I didn't know how to ask for help because I had always had to do everything on my own. So I went through treatments by myself, everything, came home, did my job, took care of my kids, did homeschooling.
Wow.
And my ex just wasn't there. So I refuse. If anybody ever says I wish somebody was here, I'm like, I'll be there. I will hold your hand.
Yeah.
And I have sat at Kaiser many a nights with people as they've gone through something. When I was on the pastoral team at Relevant, the pastoral team was put on in case of emergency for pastors to be called in. And I had gone several nights up there and just sat with strangers who just needed someone to come pray with them and talk to them. And because of that experience of not knowing what was going to happen with myself and feeling so alone, I refused to let anybody else ever feel that way.
That's amazing, and it's so many things that we can relate to, but different experiences. For me, for a portion of my adult life, I was homeless. I was poor. I was on welfare. I had no money. And when that changed, there's nothing like helping someone when you know how it feels to be there, right? And it's easy for me to give money to help someone, pay a bill or buy some food, because I know as a man, as a provider, how bad that feels to not be able to provide for your family. So it's an amazing feeling, because I know a lot of people may not have been there, so it's hard for them to really empathize, or I even sympathize with where someone's been. So I can definitely relate. So what was the key thing to your survival?
I think it was my kids, to be completely honest. It was the sheer willpower of, I need to be here for them. So fast forward many years later, COVID happens, and unfortunately my ex-husband passed away from COVID. And because of him passing away, when that happened, like I told you, I set goals for myself every year. The reason I'm actually doing the bikini contest wasn't just as a new goal. I needed to get healthy.
Yes.
I needed to make sure that I'm here for my kids. Yes. Like, they have their stepdad. They have Matt. Like, he's the best. Yeah. Like, there's no one like him.
That's pretty cool.
He really is. But I didn't want my kids to lose another biological parent.
Yeah.
So I can't help, heaven forbid, if I walk outside, get hit by a car. Yeah. But I can help my health. And the only way that I could think of doing it was to give myself a goal, which was the bikini contest. So getting healthy, staying healthy. Yeah. Like, I'm working on the inside. I'm doing therapy. I am doing, visualization, reprogramming, getting rid of all the junk. Gonna show up for them that way. Yeah. But I needed to show up for them physically also.
Love it.
And when he passed, I was like, I'm not going to leave them. Yeah. I will do everything I can to fight for them. Yeah. I fought for them before. I'll fight for them again. Oh. And that's my why. Yeah. That's why I know on April 8th, I'll stand up there and I won't lose.
100%. I love it. I love it. Goosebumps. Thank you. So let's talk about Mr. Hagberg for a minute.
He's amazing.
He's amazing. Matt is super amazing, super smart, and I'll say as a man, he's kind of handsome too. He is, and it seems like that you guys have an amazing connection, unlike any other, right? How did you guys form that connection? Because that doesn't always happen, and it seems like it was organic versus generated, right? So how did you guys form this connection that you have?
He's my best friend, and I don't use that lightly. Like, legit my best friend, ride or die, all those things. But he was that before. Like, he saw me through the divorce.
Oh, he did? Okay. Wow.
He was there. He knew my ex-husband. He was a friend of the family's. Which some people are like, oh, yeah, no, not at all. Nothing like that at all. Yeah. Like, I would hook him up with my girlfriends. I'm like,
you guys go that far back?
Yeah.
Wow,
like,
okay.
I'm like, you should date her.
Wow. Okay.
Date her. And he would go out on dates with them, and he'd be like, what the heck were you thinking? Like, why would you think I would like her? And then he dated one girl for a while, and then I'm like, this is toxic. Y'all should not be together. And then like, I knew his ex-girlfriends, like everything. Wow, and they would call me crying, and I'm like counseling them, and like,
Matt made girls cry?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. He used to be playa.
Matt. Okay.
But, and then I went through my divorce, and I was dating some people, and after dates, we would like, I wouldn't let people take me home. Yeah. I would drive myself. And so I'd be like, all right, Matt, meet me at Denny's. And we would go to Denny's, and we would talk about my date. And he would talk about his date.
That's
and
awesome.
We were like just legit best friends. Yeah. Like, we knew each other in and out. Didn't have to show up a different way because we knew the dirt on each other. Like we told each other everything. And we played poker together every Thursday night. Like we had a group of us that played together, like just legit best friends, like things that you do with your friends. Like we play poker. We would go, golfing. We do whatever, just friend things. And it would be like, oh, is Matt there? Oh, Maria must be coming. Is Maria there? Oh, Matt must be coming.
Wow.
Just best friends. And so when we finally decided to date, it was weird to me because he was just my best friend. Plus there's an age difference. So I didn't see that coming.
Which you can't even tell, by the way.
Yeah. Most people can't actually. A lot of times they think he's older than I am, which I appreciate that. We'll just keep it like that. But I invited him to an ex-boyfriend's wedding, and I wasn't going to show up alone. So I asked him to come. He came. Several Long Island iced teas later, I'm like, he is cute. Oh my gosh. And then we flirted for a couple months, and then we were playing poker one night, and the guys we were playing with were like, you two need to figure this out. Because the sexual tension is getting too much. And so we decided, like everybody left and we started talking, and I was like, well, what do you think about what they said? And he was like, I don't want to lose my best friend. And I said, but what if we're what they write stories about? What if we're the people that make it? What if we're the best friends that can handle it? Real conversation. And he had his back towards me. So, but knowing him now, I know he was smirking. I know the look that was on his face. And he turned around, used the poker term, and he said, I'm all in. And he came over, he grabbed me, and he kissed me. And when I tell you that I saw fireworks, but when I tell you this morning when he kissed me, it felt the exact same way as it did that day. And I still still see the fireworks. My knees still go weak. I still get that excitement whenever I think about him. And it's real. Like our relationship is real. He's truly my best friend. We've had 7 arguments. And the reason being, it wasn't me. It was him. He also said, look, my parents didn't have a good marriage. You've been in a bad marriage. Your parents didn't have a good marriage. Like, let's learn from this. So anytime that we've had an argument, he said, let's talk this through. Let's not make that same mistake again. And we won't make this same mistake again. And if something starts to come up, he's like, no. What did we learn last time? Let's talk about this. Like, I want to be a passionate Puerto Rican and be like, ah. And he's like, no, let's talk. Let's talk.
That's simply amazing. And I'll tell you. So I'll tell you why it's amazing. Because you can have one person like a Matt, who can say, hey, slow down, let's talk. But what's impressive to me is that you actually listened, right? You actually stopped and say, you know what? You're right. Because most people won't take that. The emotion outweighs the rationale. And to be a passionate Puerto Rican, to have that Latin in you, it's a fire there. Right. And it's really good that you were able to, Matt had his stop and pause, but you actually picked up on that and was able to, you know what, you're right. Let's talk this through. And that's how stories are made. That's how marriages last 60, 50, 40 years or whatever, because of that. We're going to have our moments. Right? But the fact that you guys can walk through it together is truly an inspiration. Thanks. Right. It is.
Well, communication for me is huge. Like in all relationships, friendships, children relationships, whatever. We need to sit, talk, and listen. And when he was willing to do that, see, I prayed for a godly man. I prayed that I would have someone who would walk alongside me and be there for my kids. And when I got it, I didn't know how to handle it. And so once I learned that he actually wasn't going anywhere, see, I go to therapy for, I'm always afraid of people abandoning me.
Still today you go to therapy?
Yes.
Okay.
I have abandonment issues. So
do I.
So when I decided to deal with that and realize he wasn't going anywhere, I was like able to let him in completely. Like he was in as my best friend.
Yeah.
But there's another level that happened when we became married.
Yeah.
And I did because I've had the same best friend since I was 12 years old.
Wow.
I understood friendship. I didn't understand marriage. And there was a difference.
Well, therapy is not for adults. Therapy is for the weak. I don't need therapy, right? So
Wrong.
people walk through that every day saying they don't need help, right?
Okay, so I'm Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
I was told you need Jesus. You don't need therapy.
Yeah,
you need Jesus.
De Jesus.
Yes. You better go pray.
Right.
Oh, you need to go do those dishes.
Yeah.
Oh, what you need is, and I'm like, okay. But I failed as a parent too, because I remember my daughter who told me, Mom, I think I'm depressed. I was like, no, you're not. You're a moody teenager. You're not depressed. You need to go do them dishes. Yeah. No, what you need, and come to find out, she did. Thankfully, she's grown, married, kids, walking a good, healthy life now. But I didn't stop to listen. Yes. For me, look, I love a therapist. Let me tell you.
I love a therapist.
They'll just sit and listen to me talk. Like, I need to get things off my chest.
Yeah.
And marriage counseling, I think marriage counseling is amazing. Yeah. Like, we've done it twice. I love it.
Really? Wow. Okay.
And it isn't because we were having problems. Yeah. Like, we did it first before marriage to hear, have y'all talked about this, blah, blah, blah. And then hey, we're at a new stage in our life. How do we handle this? Like, we're empty nesters.
Yeah. Right.
It's no longer us and the kids. I don't want to be one of those people. Let's make sure we don't become one of those people who don't know how to handle a relationship without the kids being the center. So let's just make sure we're good. And it's like a tune-up. Yeah. You take your car in for oil changes.
Yeah.
Like, we change everything. We change our underwear. We change our clothes. We change but we're not willing to change us.
Yeah.
We're not willing to grow us.
Yeah.
And I knew, like, Matt and I, we're really good. Like, we read books and we're like, hey, you should read this book too. Listen to a podcast. Hey, I think this will be good. Yeah. We're always willing to do things. So when I'm like, hey, let's just preemptive. Yeah. And we did. And I think that made us even stronger. Yeah. Like, we had a good relationship, but now it's even better. Yeah. But because we were going into a new season that didn't revolve around kids, because when my son left, I literally went into depression because, once again, someone was leaving me. Mm-hmm. I did my job as a parent. Mm-hmm. I did what I was supposed to do, but my son is moving out, married, and living his own life, and I didn't know how to handle it. And because now the things that my life revolved around, my daughter's in college, my son's gone, there's no one in the house, it's just me and you. Will I be a good wife? Yeah. Because I was a great mom. Yeah. But now it's just us. So
it's good you recognize that. That was a message for me, right? I mean, new seasons requires new levels. Yeah. Right. And you have to be aware and in tune to that, right? Because a lot of times people spend their lives reading books, listening to podcasts, and watching YouTube videos, and that's it. I think there's a different level of accountability when you have coaches and therapists in your life, because now you're getting that feedback and accountability. A book don't talk back, right? Go ahead.
Yes. So coaches, look, people are going to think I'm trying to sell them on something. I'm not. Yeah. But it's so important to have a coach, or just, all right, you have your group of friends. There's 6 of y'all. Yes. You hold each other accountable. Yes. I love it. Yes. Because, as a matter of fact, I've talked to Jonathan about this morning. I said, we were talking about, like, holding our spouses accountable and things like that. But there's a level that you have a relationship with my husband that I don't have. Right. As intimate and as we are, I'm his biggest cheerleader. Yeah. I'm like, baby, you can do anything. Right. And you'll be like, dude, are you stupid? Did you see that? That's messed up.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Right.
He asked me this morning, like, what do you think about us doing such and such and such and such? I'm like, sure, baby, whatever you want.
Yeah.
He's like, I need more of an answer than that. I'm like, I have no feelings on that whatsoever. If you believe in it, I believe in it. Maybe you should ask somebody else who's already done it and see what they think. Because he could bring it to y'all and you'll be like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Or, man, that sounds good. Yeah. But you have a relationship with him that I don't have either. Right. So I love that y'all have that accountability. Yeah. I love that he has a group of friends that he can go to and be like raw with and say, like, these are my new goals. This is my new level. Like, I'm his business partner. Yeah. I'm his world. I'm not going to lie. I'm everything.
You should be. Yeah.
However, I'm also his biggest cheerleader, and there's nothing that he can tell me that I won't be like, you can do it.
Right.
Where you can look at him and use some, I won't say logic, but you know what I'm saying.
Master more logical of us all.
Yeah,
so
he
you
is.
know.
He is logical. But, you can use, you have a different background, but different relationship business-wise. Yeah. So you understand, like, hey, this will work. No, this won't work. Oh, no, you're also in a different sphere of business. Yeah. Like, I don't understand everything. He'll say, oh, the ROI and the MMR and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what? We made money? But to y'all that made sense, and you're like, no, but if you do it like this, then you could do this and blah, blah, blah. So I don't know where I was going on that tangent, but my point is, I really don't know where I was going with that tangent.
Coaches.
And why it's so important to have those people to hold you accountable. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm thankful I have a therapist who says, are you doing the work to grow, to get to the next level? Yeah. Whether he goes to therapy or not, that's on or you or anybody else, but at least you have somebody to be accountable to. Right. And my hope is for all people that even if you're being business friends, that you're also being real friends, that you can hold each other accountable in other ways. Like, whatever it is, like, hey, I need to grow. Because for me, my besties know things and know that I want to get to the next level where I may not share it with Sally next door. Sally next door knows surface, where my besties know this is my goal. Yeah. This is where I'm going. Hold me accountable. You see me about to put cheesecake in my mouth, smack that out because that's not my goal right now.
Yeah. And that's true. That's true friendship. And those are people that I need in my life, because our core group is so tight, and we would get called on our bullshit quickly. Right. And in doing that, like attract likes, and sometimes we can get comfortable in who we are, what we've accomplished, what we've built. Right. Prime example was like, building this podcast studio. Right. It's definitely a dream come true. And my partner, Anthony, we had this vision, we had this goal, I mean, I'm not my own partner, but my partner's name is Anthony. Yeah. We had this vision and goal, and I found myself getting comfortable and just building a podcast, just really going with the day to day. Right. He set me down and he's like, you know what, I see certain things happening that I want to make sure that we stay on track and going in the right direction. And throughout my life, most people looked at me as someone who was intimidating, right? Whether it be stature, whether it be business, because I was at a certain level, right? Considered like the boss in a sense, right? But I appreciated how much he set me down and he spoke to me, because we're not perfect, right? We get off track. We do certain things we shouldn't, if a true friend tells you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, and the same thing as a business partner, right?
Yep.
This is what needs to be done, and in my whole core group, it's like that.
Yeah.
You know, I can depend on them to tell me what I need to hear, not want to hear, and sometimes it can be hurtful, but it's the truth, right? Yeah. And hurtful in the sense that it's said in love. I believe you can tell somebody anything, but it has to be done in love, right? You know, and there was in our group, in my partnership, there's never been an insult. There's never been, you know, a mean word spewed. It's that, okay, I care about you. I love you. I'm telling you this in love, and I'm thinking that's what helps build empires, and it helps people get to a point where they need and should be. Yeah. So I want to talk about M&H real quick. So you and Matt are business partners.
Yes.
Right. And you guys help people achieve some extraordinary goals.
Yeah.
Right. So talk to me about the $1 million that you guys help build, and you guys made yourself, right?
So 2016, the end of 2016, Jonathan came to Matt and was like, "Yo, I have this thing. I'll tell you once I figure it out."
Same thing you told me.
And so he finally did. Was like right after Christmas, we were over there playing Monopoly, and Jonathan cheats. And
he does cheat.
And so we're talking, and Matt's getting all excited. I'm like,
cheerleader.
Yeah. And so 2017, it starts. And I'm like, I don't know where you're getting this extra money to build this thing, but cool. He's like, I'm going to take my $5 from Starbucks and I'm going to turn that over. I'm like, okay, whatever. So my job required me to leave on Monday, fly home on Friday.
Oh, okay.
So I wasn't really home. And he's doing his thing, and he's all excited, and I do the phone call in the evening, and we're like, how's it going? And blah, blah, blah. And he's all excited telling me, but in reality, what's happening on the other end is I'm working.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Cool, baby. Ah, amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
Good for you. Well, I got to go. Talk to you later. And hang up. Fast forward, March. I'm at home. It's Friday night. Jonathan calls and he's like, yo, I have someone that will look at your numbers. Give me like 5 minutes and we'll FaceTime you. He's like, sure. So he's in his office and I'm in the living room, but I turn down the TV because I know he's going to be FaceTiming. I want to make sure that he can hear properly. And I hear, okay, looks like you spent about $5,000-$6,000 today. Your ads are this, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, he spent what? So I'm looking at the bank accounts. And I'm like, I don't see this money. Yeah. Where's this money coming from? What do you mean he made this money? He made $10,000. Where's the $10,000?
Right.
I don't see this. I'm legit concerned. Right. Grandma also told me about bra money. Bra money was the money that women set aside in case they ever had to leave. And so that you always had to, I'm like, baby got bra money. He's going to leave me. He's got a whole nother life.
Oh, it's about him leaving you.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I'm all nervous.
Yeah.
Like I went from confused to angry and then sad. Something's going on. Why didn't he tell me? What's happening?
Wow.
Okay. Remember communication I said important? Well, he had been communicating. He was excited, but I was just like, okay, do your thing.
Yeah.
He gets off the phone. I'm like, we need to talk. He's all excited because he just had an amazing call. Yeah. I'm traumatized.
Wow.
You spent $5,000. You made $10,000. Amazing. However, I don't see this.
Yeah.
So I'm like, babe, we need to talk. And he's like, what's going on? What's wrong? Like he thought something happened to me while he was on the phone. I'm like, I overheard your conversation. I wasn't eavesdropping, but he's like, yeah, isn't it great? And I'm like, no, what's happening? So he tells me and he's like, babe, I told you this is the thing Jonathan told me about. I was like, but you said you were spending $5. He's like, well, then I turn it into 10, then 20, then 40, then 60. And I'm like, okay, you have my full attention. He's like, I told you I opened up a business account.
Yeah.
This is this is that. I'm like, show me everything. He's like, I've been telling you, show me, download it. Well, positives, negatives, whatever, because now I now see how much money we're making. And I'm like, okay, I like the ching ching that was happening on the phone. It was addictive.
Yeah.
But I would wake up in the morning, and if there's not already $2,000, $2,500 in there, I'm like, is it broken? Are the ads broken? Call Facebook.
Call Facebook. I wish it was that easy.
And I'm like freaking out. And he's like, babe, like Pizza Hut doesn't make the same amount every day. Yeah. Stores are different. There's going to be good times, bad times. Their times of days are different. I'm like, he's logical. I'm passionate. Yeah. I'm passionate about this money. Yeah. The next thing I know, we're making 120 in a month. That's what I make in a year.
Right. Yeah.
I want to come home.
Right. Now.
And he's like, no, let's give it a couple months. Yeah. So I gave it a moment. Next thing, we made $1 million in 7 months.
You made a what?
$1 million in 7 months. I still don't understand. Once again, the ROI, MMR, TWI.
You made $1 million.
I made $1 million. Yeah. And I don't know how. I know how, but I don't know how.
Yeah.
If I had to build a store and all the things now, I wouldn't know how to do that.
Yeah.
I do. I call Natalie and say, hey, girl, can you build this for me?
But you don't have to know how. I mean, if you have people on your team who knows how to do that.
So, fast forward. So next thing I know, people are like, you need to walk across stage. You made $1 million. Here's a trophy. I'm like, I made $1 million. Thank you. Thank you. I'm clueless. But we made $1 million. Matt made $1 million. But literally, he turned his $5 into $1 million in 7 months. Yep. Also, thank you, Kim Kardashian. Because it was when the waist trainer came out, and we said,
the waist trainer.
The waist trainer. And we rode that wave. Thank you, China. Yeah. And that's what we sold. That's how we made $1 million was on a waist trainer.
I remember that.
And so 7 months. But with the good comes the bad. We got shut down. Yep. We're in Hawaii on a 10-day vacation.
I remember
living life.
That Zoom call. I remember that Zoom call. I remember that Zoom call.
Our ads got shut down. Everything got shut down. And we went from making $10,000, $15,000 a day to nothing. Yeah. Crushed. Absolutely crushed. I'm like, call Facebook, call Google, call anybody you can.
Call the president, call somebody.
They didn't care.
Yeah.
They did not care. Yeah. So I said, this can't happen again.
Right.
And so because of that, we learned a lot. Yeah. There were so many things we didn't know then. So many things. So, but that's how we created our marketing business. Yeah. Was out of that.
Right.
I remember being at Funnel Hacking Live and listening to Russell and being aggravated because our ads are closed. And
that was 2018, right?
Yep.
When I was there with you guys.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
And but we're like slowly getting things started again, but it just wasn't hitting the right thing. And like having a store wasn't our passion. Yeah. We didn't know what we didn't know yet. Yeah. And we were learning while we were there. And so while we were there, one of the things that happened was Matt made connections, and he decided to get them to be their coaches and everything. And so he went to an event. Well, someone asked him, asked the group a question, and John Parks didn't know the answer. And so Matt's like, I can answer this because it had happened to us. Yeah. And so he was able to say, hey, chapter ahead, this just happened. Mm-hmm. let me teach you what I learned. And because of that, ClickFunnels asked them to come on and work with them.
Yeah.
Which has been great. They're now a client of ours. He no longer works for ClickFunnels. They're just a client.
Yeah.
He does coaching calls for them. Because we open up our own marketing business, we teach people how to do what we did, and then some. One of the things we also did was go into brick and mortar businesses because we used to own a pest control company, and he was also a financial advisor. Excuse me.
No worries.
And because of that, we're able to see businesses on a different level and take them from point A to point B to point C to point D and so on, and help them grow. I have an eye for people.
Yeah.
I thankfully, better or worse, I can read people well.
Yeah.
It's also why I'm really good at poker, because I can read people well.
Teach me.
And so we would go into brick and mortars, and it's actually how it started for us. I mean, yeah, we did online, but we would go into brick and mortars and sorry. And we could see where people were wasting money or needed to spend more money or whatever. And so, including firing people, which is never fun. Like having own businesses, having to let go of people is never fun. So, we've taken all the knowledge that we've had over the years of how to build a company from brick and mortars to online businesses, where I may not actually understand the cogs of everything, but I understand people, and I understand the marketing, and I understand the emotion that goes into something, and how to help create something that can tell a story that will
happens.
That
Kobe's excited.
He is so excited. That will grab someone's attention so that they will want to go forward in their business. One of the hardest things to do is to tell somebody to just be patient.
Yes.
One of the things that I get aggravated with people is when they come to us and they're like, one of our clients, and they're like, it's just not working. Well, how long have you been doing it? 2 weeks. Give it longer.
Give it longer.
Give it 90 days.
Yeah.
Give it 120 days.
Right. Just
like
you
need to give it time. And that's, I think if I could tell anybody anything, it would be stay consistent and give it time. Because every day, even if you're just doing a little bit every day, it will pay off. Do you know how frustrated I get? I go back and look at my old videos that I thought I had no hits on.
Yeah.
And I did this yesterday because someone asked me, hey, I know you have a Christmas series of Storytime with Gigi's. Yeah. And I was like, oh, yeah, I do. Can you send it to me? So I just start looking through. I'm like, I have over thousands of hits on Llama bedtime pajamas story, like Pete the cat story. I'm like, if I would have just stuck with it. Yeah. But I didn't see it going anywhere, so I gave up. Yeah. I'm like, if I would have just stayed with the Find the Good in Your Life on YouTube, because the views, man, on these are strong now, but I didn't stick with it because I didn't see it going anywhere. Yeah. And like over the years, I've learned, like writing a book, you just got to stick with it. Yeah. A couple, 2,500 words a day. Yep. Just write. Yep. And it will change. So giving myself goals, the thing that really, really, really set it off for me is I wanted to jump out of a plane, and people kept telling me that they were going to go with me. I'm like, okay, this is a date. This is a date. This is a date. And finally I'm like, July 1st, I'm going. Yeah. And they're like, okay, I'm going to be with you, Jonathan.
Yeah. Also, Jonathan said he's running 5K with us next month. So
okay. So I got up. I got ready. I went. They didn't show up. I don't know where this is now. Sorry. I need a maneuver.
You're fine.
I might be out of the shot. I got there and I called and I said, "Where are you?" He said, "I'm not coming. Are you still doing it?" Yes, I'm still doing it. I did it hella scared.
Yeah.
I jumped out of that plane.
Yeah.
And once I did that, I knew that there was nothing that I couldn't do.
Yeah.
Because I jumped out of that airplane. Like, I had someone attached to me.
Yeah.
He kind of pushed me.
Yeah.
But it was the whole mindset that if I can do this, I can do anything.
Yeah.
Like, I've written the books. And, okay, I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes I feel like a, what's the word? Fake?
Imposter.
Yeah, imposter syndrome.
Yep.
This is why. You're a 3-time bestseller. Yeah, it's marketing.
It's marketing.
You get on stage, it's marketing.
Yeah.
Me standing on that stage naked on April 8th, not technically.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah.
That's not marketing.
Wow.
That's why I'm doing this. That's another reason. It's like proving to myself, like, all those imposter syndrome things, like, you actually did that, Maria.
Yeah.
So what? It was marketing. You did the marketing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You did the marketing to do it.
Yeah.
But it's not the same. I don't know. I go through this all the time in my head. Like, if you just would have stuck with it. Imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
You didn't, did you really write a bestseller? Well, I did.
Yeah.
I get the paychecks. So.
We all go through that.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, imposter syndrome is something that's massive, right? Massive. But it's like overcoming that. And I mean, entrepreneurship has peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
Right? And making $1 million and then not making $1 million and then getting back. Yeah. I've learned that, during the valleys, you learn, strategize. During the peaks, you double down on the peaks and you learn from the valleys.
Yeah.
Right. And even you talk about being an imposter and, staying consistent. And one thing I tell people, I mean, even me, when I first started podcasting, I would get 12 views, 10 views, 50 views, 40 views. I'm like, wow, that's not a lot of views. But I thought, I'm like, wait, Anthony, what if you have 50 people live in the room with you? That's a lot of people.
Right.
Right. So I had to flip it and learn. I mean, what if you had 10 people live with you in the room? How would you feel? It's an audience. Right. So use that audience to your best ability. And as you stay consistent, you grow. Yeah. And as you grow, people know who you are. And you're right. It's all marketing. But at the same time, when it's something that you really love, it's also you as well. Because you can do shit for money. Yeah. Right. And it will work for a certain amount of time, but eventually it will fizzle out.
Yep.
This podcast will go on if it's one person watching or a million people watching, because it's something that I'm passionate about, something that makes me happy and smile. It gives me freedom. It takes me away from all the bullshit out there that is waiting for me, but I can now go and deal with it a lot clearer now with a more loving heart, because I sat and I talk to people who are experiencing some of the same things I've experienced, and as I'm talking, I'm getting coaching, right? And I just love it because it makes my hour, my day, my week, my month, my year more joyful.
Yep.
Right. So thank you for sitting with me for this time. I mean, it's truly a blessing. So people out there watching the podcast, they hear you, they see you, they feel your energy, whether it's visually or audio, they feel it, but they still feel a little bit stuck, right? Give us 3 action steps that we can take to just take that first step into just starting to achieve what we want to achieve and set that attention. 3 quick action steps.
Remember your why. That, for me, that's always the biggest thing. Once I remember the why, the other things seem to fall in place. I personally enjoy journaling.
Yes.
And even to the point of it just being one word or 2 words. Sometimes it's fuck this. And to it being whatever it was that day. Yeah. But journaling, and anybody who says they don't have time to meditate are the people who need to meditate the most.
Right.
Like, I come into my office in the morning, and that's the first thing I do. Well, not the first thing. I turn on all the lights and my smelly good. I have a diffuser in my room.
Yeah.
And then I meditate because it helps just set my mood for the day. Even if it's just 5 minutes, sometimes I like to do 15, 20 personally. But those who say that they don't have time are the ones who need it the most. Because it will just help set everything. Yep. But remember your why, journal, and meditate.
Awesome. So how do we find you? You brought some books, so I want you to pop them books out and show the world. And let's talk about those.
So my first book was Luna and Soul, We Aren't Planets. So they're early readers, chapter books, and they really first through third or kindergarten through third, easy reading. Need to get them because I made them make Matt as Pop in all the books. And so this one, We Aren't Planets, it talks about the sun and moon and how they're not actually planets, but part of the solar system. And in the back of each book, there is a recipe because Gigi in the book makes a snack with the kids. And so there's like a recipe you can do with the kids.
Nice.
Then Unplugged talks about the Northern Star and how it was used for travel and getting places, but talk about things you can do besides video games and TV and all those things. And then, but this is my book series. Like Luna and Soul, there's more of these coming. That's the next book that's coming out. But then I'm also a novelist, and I wrote Daydreams. It just dropped this past May. In My Dreams is coming this summer sometimes, which is part 2 to this. So my husband did an amazing thing for me years ago, and Judy Blume is my favorite author. And so he had got me part of masterclass with her, and and then I submitted stuff to her, and she was like, "Yeah, you're a great writer." And she was a children's book writer who became a like middle school writer to adult writer, and she's like, "You have the talent to do this too." So that's why I decided not just to write children's books, but adult books, and not adult, but books for adults.
More mature books.
Yes. And, but she lives in Key West, and you can find some of my books actually in her bookstore, but you can find these on Amazon. You can just put in my name and my books will pop up. And and I have the next one coming out soon, next Luna and Soul, and next novel coming out sometime this summer.
So how do we find you to connect with you?
You can either go to mariahagberg.com or find The Good in Your Life on Instagram. Those are the 2 easiest ways.
Perfect. All right. So give us some wisdom in closing.
Stay consistent. If you believed in this dream in the beginning, and also if it hits you at that moment, like, do it. I have found that most dreams will fizzle out because no action has been put behind it. You wake up at 2:00 in the morning with this passion in you, write it down, and the next morning take action. Action is so important. Just
massive action,
don't, and if someone starts, it's not their dream, it's your dream. You have to remember that. Because my friends who would circle words in red letters would never believe that I would have been a writer. So just take action, stay consistent.
Well, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
I love your vulnerability. I love your honesty. I love your congruency, and I love your spirit. I love your soul, and I always have. And this just gave me like an immense amount of more love for you. So I appreciate every single second that you spent. So you truly blessed me, and I bless our audience. So thanks for coming on, and we got to have you back when the new book drops, so we can talk about that. But that's it for us. I appreciate it. Love you very much, Maria.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.